Hello guys, thank you for tuning into my channel. This is Azrael, and in this video, I've got a treat for you. It's a nice little subject a lot of people like to talk about. Haunted dolls, items, and as a bonus, I'm going to teach you guys how to make them. So, I make them. I make them all the time, or used to. Uh, Head over fist, man. Boom, boom, boom. Make it in my sleep. I'm saying this part because one of the things that inspired me to do this video is that this time of year, Halloween is approaching, so a lot of people talking about haunted items, haunted dolls, and they're like, "Don't ever pay for a haunted doll; it's guaranteed to be fake." Like they know everything. First of all, yes, there is a market for people just grabbing something and saying, "Hmm, $50." So, I'm sorry, haunted dolls aren't never that cheap, are they? Unless I make them. Give me $300 for this guy. Yeah, it's haunted by Molak. Yeah, a spirit named Molak. Hand it over. There, you never can tell. For that matter, if you go by things like graveyard dirt or anything online, you never know if it's 100% real. If they just don't walk outside and pick up a cup of dirt and said "blessed dirt," okay, you don't know. You don't know if you pay a person and don't to do a magical work if they're like okay and they go home and just don't do it. Just take your money. Fraud is everywhere. That doesn't mean everybody who charges is a fraud. Guys, magical practice is that practice, and people spend time, their energy, their items that they bought with their money to do a magical working. Most people who don't like people who charge money for a magic working are people who want magical workings for free and they want to justify it. There's a lot of people out there that don't even think doctors should charge for their thousands of dollars they spent to go to medical school to learn a practice, and they don't think they should be able to make money off their practice. I'm sorry. If every religion on the planet or religious practice or spiritual practice somewhere there's money involved for that person bought books, that person might have paid a teacher. It's okay to make some of that money back. So y'all need to stop with that. If you don't like it, just tell the people don't overpay for shit. There's a dude on YouTube that charge you almost $1,000 to summon a spirit. There's this same dude that will charge, $600 or $700 for his videos on how for you to summon a spirit. This is horrible. When you can go to the right bookstore and buy the book for $20, and you pretty much can read and learn it yourself. It's horrible. That guy is pretty bad. But I'm not going to say no names. Anyway, but as a benefit to you guys, I'm actually going to teach you how to make a haunted item. All right. So this video is going to be a little bit longer than some of my other videos, probably close to 30 minutes. So let's get started. All right. First of all, think of the spirit world, as oil and water. Okay. You put oil and water, they separate. For many reasons, the spiritual world is a part of our lives. It runs through us, it runs through everything that we see and feel. Some people don't see it, some people never see it, some people see it all the time. But there is a veil, there is a separation, and it's kind of like oil and water. Okay, if you want oil and water to mix and stay mixed, let's say oil and water and vinegar, you mix them together and they stay, you got mayonnaise, right? So, you need a medium, and in this case it's an egg yolk, right, that brings the oil and water together. Okay, in the spiritual example, it's called an anchor. Okay, the more anchors a spirit has in this world, that the item that it is attached to exists in this world, it gives them an easier footing to maintain and work in this world. For example, in my necromancy series, I teach how to make a box filled with various items that help draw in the necromantic energy and a place for the spirit to reside. Just like your body houses a soul, these boxes, uh, they like this. This is a coffin box. Most people probably just use it to house little things in, but this becomes a tabernacle for the spirit to reside. Okay, much like, say, a doll. Okay. Now, this is also this works on a similar principle to say like mojo bags or uh, jars used in jar magic in various cultures. All right, the jar represents the unification of your ingredients that it unifies, the body of your work. It's an anchor, kind of like. But in this part, a lot of spirits are dying to have anchors because they want to be here. Okay, now they don't need an anchor to be here. It think of it as a well, having an anchor is kind of like having a driveway. A smoother driveway is better, right? So spirits may have a way here through portals and various other things, but when they have an attachment, it's something that helps pull them into our reality. I hope I'm explaining this correctly for you guys, or not. I know I am. I just hope you understand it. Okay, moving on. Some of the skills that you are going to have to know how to do is, well, you need to watch my necromancy videos because just as you bring learn how to bring a spirit into uh, the box to speak with or into the mirror to see, you're going to have to learn how to do that. Those videos, I'm not going to explain all the information. It's like 10 videos. Okay, watch that and learn how to do that. Uh, Scrying, you want to learn how to scry too, or perform a divination. Scrying is a form of divination. Most people, most people, it's easier for them to use a pendulum or dowsing rods. The scrying mirror does take some time to do accurately and at command. A lot of people, they have to sit there and it's hit or miss. Then they develop their skills. So learn how to do it. Ask a spirit to come into the box or into your working space. How to scry or perform divination. Uh, Also, binding. Now, I am against binding and a spirit, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But it's still something that you need to do. Learn how to bind and unbind. I have videos like that here, and if I am this is a false memory, I guess I'll have to make one. But in any case, here's the reason why. Oh, and fourth, learning how to make a tulpa, and I have a playlist on that. That's only 2 videos. So the necromancy, if you're trying to get a haunted doll, I'm getting ahead of myself. But learning how to do divination, necromancy, watch my necromancy videos, and watch my tulpa videos, and then of course I have a playlist about contacting summoning spirits, which just adds more information. And then learning how to make sigils. Okay, so you have like 4 to 5 little things. Learn how to make sigils, divination, learning how about summoning a spirit in necromancy, and learning about other uh, dead spirits or non-human. Okay, so and making sigils. Once you watch those, let me explain how this goes. Okay, why am I against binding? Sorry if there's any witches out there that think that when they do a binding spell, it is permanent. It is most definitely not permanent. Very effective. It might be a long time too. But understand when you bind a spirit or in this kind of manner, you are using energy to imprison or bind or restrict in some form or fashion a spirit. So binding a spirit against its will to an item is asking for utter failure because eventually that binding energy, unless you're constantly applying binding to that, you are, well, one, you're going to make a very pissed off, angry spirit. So you're going to have bad results for anything that you're trying to do with it, or even just keeping it around for haunting experiences. It could become very volatile. All right. So the energy that you put into binding eventually dissipates. Energy dissipates. That's just the nature. It's called entropy. Okay, it's part of science, and as above as below, same thing. If you cast a spell, like say uh, for love or something like that, that you don't do that one love spell to introduce somebody new in your life if that new person leaves eventually. You don't cast a one-time money spell and once you get that money, that same spell keeps on working in the future. The energy spent. So if you bind a spirit to an item Eventually, it will dissipate by its own strength, fighting against your binding. Or let's say you summon a demon and you try to bind it to an item that it doesn't want to be a part or bound to. Now, it wants to be an anchor to that. Yes, most spirits want that anchor, but they don't want the binding. All right, you don't want me to go over to your house and put handcuffs on you and say, "Okay, you're mine now." So don't do that to a spirit, unless it's an evil spirit trying to enter your house and you're trying to bind it out. That's different. But you still have to reapply those bindings and blessings and things of protection, especially again if it's a well-known demon, because when you bind it and say magician in California goes, I'm going to summon Marduk. Oh, well, guess what happens to your binding? That fucking magician in California or the world away just undid your binding and called that spirit forth away from the binding. It's no longer part of that. However, okay, so you understand the concept of binding. So the goal is to get the spirit to say, yes, I will attach this, or I'll attach myself to this for fun, for me, for my benefit. It's a mutual benefit. I have an anchor. I have a place to stay. If I get banished out of one house, I don't have to go somewhere else. I can just go back home. I'm willingly bound to this. Big difference, right? Willing and against willing. So, moving on. A lot of times, a lot of the spirits that you'll get from haunted items are probably tulpas, which is a thought form. It is not a real ghost or a independent spirit. It is a an artificial spirit created by a magician. And part of this is giving a place for that tulpa to live. Sometimes it's a doll, it could be anything else, right? But there you go. It could be a fake spirit or an artificial spirit, which, if not fed currently or told how to feed itself, naturally over time can become dissipated itself. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be contacting a dead spirit in the necromancy rituals and asking for it to stay. And then using divination or, well, yeah, divination, either the actual I see you, you see me, or pendulum, the spirit to some extent has to agree and say, yeah, I'll stay in this for you. Okay? So, necromancy videos, learning how to summon a dead person, ask them to reside in the doll. Okay? Or item. If you do the tulpa route and you create your own artificial spirit and you put it in a doll, that's the second part way to create a haunted or spiritually spooky item. Okay. Now, and the demon the same way. You will summon it and you will ask it to stay. Now, here's some of the things. Now, the sigils, how to make sigils, goes along with making both the spirit, the sigil of the spirit. If you're summoning, say, a goetic demon and you want it to reside in something, it's very customary to somewhere in the doll or on the doll to draw its sigil as a form of binding it there. And you could do that with even with a pinprick of blood too on the sigil to activate it. And there you go. Or if you want to use animal blood, which you can get, there is humanely as far as you don't have to hurt an animal in various places. Butcher shops, they often sell powdered blood or even blood in general to make delicacies or snack. I won't say delicacies, but you ever heard of blood pudding? People eat that shit. And there's also blood loaf, which is bread with. Bottom line, you can get animal blood without killing an animal. You can go to a butcher shop and or some place that sells animal blood for those kind of recipes. Okay. Um, Anyways, moving on. All right, so I've pretty much covered uh, avoid the binding by force and the various other forms. You have dolls that are haunted by human spirits, artificial spirits, demonic spirits, natural spirits. All right, okay, so we got that there. Sometimes it's a nature spirit, and these would be artificially created haunted items. Sometimes they come naturally. They just form naturally. Um, Items usually infused with a demonic or, and I use this word with a bad taste in my mouth because not all what's considered demons are actually evil spirits, just not. Okay, so angry spirits. But I'm so when I use the word demon, understand I'm not necessarily talking about the demon in the Christian sense, where it's just a spirit opposed to God. I'm using demonic spirits as old gods that have been forgotten, for example, might be demonic because they're angry for being forgotten. Uh, Demons are also very helpful spirits. They come from the root word, basically kind of like a daemon. Originally, the root word just meant a spirit, and it could be good or bad. So don't necessarily say when you hear the word demonic, think it's automatically evil. Most people use it that way. So, but with me, understand that when I say demonic, again, not necessarily evil. All right. These kind of haunted items that are happen naturally usually happen because they were used in a ritual already for that spirit. So say you could have a haunted athame or a haunted dagger that was used to contact a ritual used was used to in a ceremony for that spirit, not necessarily trying to bind it or have it haunt it or use it as an anchor. It can become an anchor over time, even sometimes with one use, depending on how much energy is drummed up and if that spirit was able to make a connection. With human spirits, it has a tendency to be things that the living love. It's easy for a wedding ring that's worn every day of that person's life for years to become an anchor or a haunted item. Natural spirits or nature spirits tend to possess things uh, naturally that things that are effigies. Sometimes you could have a fairy come into your house and see a fairy statue and say, "Hey, that's pretty fucking cool. I'm going to chill here for a little bit." Uh, but they usually hunt things that are natural or things that are made from like see that pentagram right there? That was made by Nat with uh, unprocessed for the most part wood, right? They're bundles of twigs, straight lines, something that was taken from nature and then made to be used. So a lot of fairies like to hunt homemade brooms, for example, that were made from nature, things that are taken out of nature. You could have a rock collection. Fairies love rocks and stuff that were taken from nature. Um, so spirits do have a preference of where they go. However, for our sake, most people they don't just have random rocks. We witches do, right? Chilling about the house. But this is why they're more popular. They're dolls. Everybody has some kind of doll or knickknack that looks like a human or a humanoid or something. And these are one reason why they're an item of choice for most spirits. Most spirits would probably love to live in a be attached to a doll than say a rock, right? What's pet rock over here? But in any case, so I hope I've given enough information on that to try to avoid bindings. Do it naturally. Ask the spirits to stay. Use divination to talk to the spirit and say yes or no, and what kind of payment it would like or what kind of tribute. Because haunted dolls. That's another thing. Haunted dolls have a tendency to well like to be fed. All right, especially if it's a tulpa. And this famous one that's been going on in movies called Annabelle. That's basically a Raggedy Ann doll that was in this haunted museum by the I'm having a brain fart, guys. I'm sorry. Uh, this paranormal couple, Christian paranormal couple, that basically were ghost hunters slash collectors, and they collected haunted items, uh, maybe for fun or as they would say, to keep them out of the hands of other people to imprison them by keeping their items that they're attached to, which that's not necessarily how it works. The spirit, just because a spirit is bound or has an anchor, does not mean they stay here. They float around. But You usually have your little dolls after you create them. You put them in an honorary spot in the house. In other words, a place that they're not going to be by themselves. Understand that? They're like, say, on the shelf. Like if this guy was haunted, I keep them over here around close to where I can interact with it. It's important to acknowledge it as a real person. This helps fortify and create that anchor phenomenon that I was talking about. And again, you could use it's customary when you do these by yourself or artificially to use like sigils, putting the spirit's name into the doll somewhere on a piece of paper. If it's an item, uh, set the item on top of the sigil that is their name. Let's say Billy Bob. I I I, I summon Billy Bob. He's a redneck from whatever, and he wants to be attached to a can of Mountain Dew. Okay, well I'll put that can of Mountain Dew and use a sigil that I created for his name as a coaster to help draw that energy and create that bond. Okay, so artificially created haunted items definitely need to have an air of ritual around it as much as possible. Naturally created items tend to be, well, active mostly when they are in the presence or brought out. If you're put in a box, it's kind of like putting that magic away, putting that spirit away, and keeping it away. So the haunted doll that's in your attic, as long as it's not downstairs, it tends to be innate, or the spirit just has no one to communicate with. So it goes to its other anchors and spends some time there. All right, so understand that in a haunted item, the spirit is again usually not completely bound there. And if they're bound by choice, that's because it's by choice and they can move freely. But acknowledging it calls them back. Okay, so again, if you want, I've given you the information, and sorry, I'm not repeating or doing a ritual to demonstrate this, but I have literally tons of other videos that give this information, and you need to go watch them. And I'm going to I'm put the playlist in below, so you'll learn about how to make sigils, how to summon spirits, or especially of the dead. And then when you construct the ritual in the necromancy ritual, you have that item present, and you ask the spirit if it will reside there, and you wait for a yes or no. Okay. If it says no, don't try to bind it. It'll just piss it off, and eventually it will break free. So you're wasting your time and being rude at the same time. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. Let me know. Give me some ideas for me to talk about. Take care.